This episode is sponsored by Relogic Research. Relogic is an engineering, aerospace, and technology company dedicated to solving our nation's toughest defense problems while investing in the bright minds of Huntsville. Relogic is excited to be a part of the innovation and continued growth of the Huntsville community. Visit their website today to see what they are excited about at relogicresearch.com, and all of this information will be in the episode notes. Well, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself, and we'll get started there?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me back. This is fun. My name's Kayla Adams, and I'm the owner of Elitaire Boutique in downtown Huntsville.
Yeah. So you're the first guest of 2024 that is a returning guest. So this is something that we are going to be doing every month. Probably the third Wednesday of each month is going to be a returning guest on the podcast. A lot's changed in your business. I think we first had you on 4.5 years ago, maybe.
It's wild.
It is a very, I think we recorded in your space after hours.
Yep.
A few people were trying to come in because they thought you were still open.
Yep.
It was a great episode. It is still one of our greatest episodes we've done.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to have you back on and kind of learn a little bit more about the business. For people that maybe haven't listened to that first episode, give a little bit about your background. Are you originally from Huntsville, and then when did you start Elitaire?
Yeah. So I'm not originally from here. I moved here in 2011. I was actually thinking about this morning. I was like, when did I move here? It's been a really long time. Met my husband here, just kind of developed a home here. But when I moved here, I had a really hard time finding stores to shop at. Mm-hmm. I don't particularly like to shop at big box stores. I also don't like to shop online if I don't have to. Obviously, every now and then you've got to do it.
And it's kind of changed a little bit over the years since COVID of like, you kind of have to a little bit, and and we'll talk a little bit about that probably later on, of just how y'all navigated that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I really struggled finding, as a young professional, because I have a marketing degree and I was doing marketing for a nonprofit, and I had a really hard time finding professional clothes, but also clothes that were fun.
Yeah.
That show your personality. And I didn't want to shop at a J. Crew or anywhere else. I wanted to shop local, but I would go to local places, and they typically were a little bit younger. I know a lot of boutiques tend to have the rap of catering more towards teenagers and college students, which is great. There is they need clothes too.
For sure.
But it's really hard to find really great boutiques for women that kind of have a range of things. So that's where the concept came from. But I had always wanted to open up a boutique. Okay. That was the long-term goal. I just didn't know when or where to do it. And so when we found out about downtown Huntsville and the revitalization of it.
Yeah. And you got in, the timing was
wild.
Perfect.
Yes. We actually inquired about the avenue.
Really? Okay.
And I got a response back from the leasing agent that I had been talking to, and she was like, there's actually another concept that hasn't been announced yet that we want to talk to you about.
Wow.
And it was the Clinton parking garage. Wow. And I thought it was really cool because when I had the option of a mezzanine, it looked really lofty, like a downtown apartment, which I loved. Yeah. So having that look was very Elitaire to me.
For sure. So. And the timing is hard to beat. I mean, you got in ground level of what downtown Huntsville was. I mean, because prior to that, downtown Huntsville wasn't really a place that people were trying to seek to go.
Right.
But you've been there so long, you've seen it develop over the years. How much has it, like when you first signed on and you could kind of see this vision of what they were going to do with the Clinton Row shops, what they were going to do right there on with you and Roosevelt and Company and Honest, like when did it really set in that, like, wow, like these visions that what they said they were going to do finally came to fruition?
Yeah. So when my husband and I made the leap, the only retail place downtown was UG White, and they were in the Mercantile building. Yeah. Which I'm so sad that they're not there anymore. Such a cool space. It was such a cool space. I remember my parents coming up, and my dad was like, I just found a toy in there that I had when I was a child. Yeah. And it was just a really cool something for everyone. And just the whole space was really cool. So I really hate that they're not there anymore. But they were the only retail store, I think, I might be mistaken, that was downtown at the time. Yeah. At least on our block.
Yeah, it's like Harrison Brothers has always been up there, but it's like it's just kind of like a staple of the square.
Yes, and I think that's like the oldest store in Huntsville.
For sure, and like cool. No one really ventured away from the square.
Right.
There was never a reason to.
Yes. And so I think that was the only retail space on Clinton. So when we signed on to do it, they had told us there's going to be a men's store opening next door. And so we knew that was coming. Yeah. We didn't really know name or like anything about it.
For sure.
But we knew they were coming. And then we heard about a coffee shop coming. And it's so crazy because we opened it up in October, and I think Roosevelt did too. And then that May is when Honest, that following May.
Yeah, because like Honest was working out of UG White for a while.
It's so funny.
And then I guess they had this opportunity to go over there, and then now they've become, you know, the corner. And I mean, it's insane. I mean, you can't. I feel like the amount of business they have, like every time I walk by, I'm like, oh, they're like probably about to be closing, and it's like packed. It's like, this makes no sense, but packed. Christie's made an amazing brand.
We love them.
It's one of my favorite places.
They're the best neighbors.
Yes.
It's so fun, and it's also dangerous because we go there so often.
Yeah, and they're like, do you want the usual? And you're like, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
But it's fun because now we know people. Like, we know other employees by name and stuff like that. That's really fun. So it's been more of a community.
And then most of that Clinton Road shop, like most of that stretch right there where you and Roosevelt are, and Honest has pretty much been the same. I mean, the shop Kayla Page has kind of changed over the years a little bit. And then the corner where the Oyster Bar is now has changed over the years a little bit.
And that's a great addition
and
too.
It's
really
good.
Cool.
It's good too. It's good. They're two great anchors on that street. And then they have the whole Clinton Road shops now that have really developed. Like, when did that? How did that development and like what they do across the street, how did that affect the business and just the word of mouth of what Elitaire and its clientele and just people really realizing that you are there and like you exist?
I think what makes a really great downtown and just any shopping space is shopping synergy. So when you have different stores, so like we don't want a ton of boutiques downtown. You want a few.
For sure.
And you want them all to be different. But then there's a really cool soap place across the street, which is so fun.
Yeah.
There's a record store. Then you've got Kayla Page, which is like more home and gifts. Then you've got Roosevelt. So you can come downtown and you can kind of just go and browse all the stores and find something unique and different at all the stores. There's a vintage store across the street. There's a jewelry store across the street that's like handmade. It's amazing. So there's just so many different things that I think that's what makes people want to come downtown, because there's also so many different places to eat now.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, even like I feel like every day that we're downtown all the time. My wife and I are downtown all the time. I run downtown all the time. Right. I run by y'all store and I'm like, I wonder if Kayla's there. And I'm like looking in, like, and so like it's.
I probably
like,
am.
We are always around, and it's like even in the last 6 months. I mean, it's changed completely over the last 5 years. I mean, it's a whole nother ball game. So it's crazy just to see how long y'all have been there, and you've been able to see this blossom around you.
And then the hotel opening, amazing, beautiful.
Yeah.
And just making it look like a vibrant downtown, because it is a vibrant downtown now. And so it's really crazy because I started as my only employee. And the first year that was our business model, because we didn't know the foot traffic. There wasn't any foot traffic. And so we stayed open. We used to stay open till 7 or 8 on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, because UG White stayed open till 8. So it worked well. We don't do that anymore. Yeah. That's a lot. But it worked well because if you were waiting for your table at the bottle, a lot of people would just walk over. It might be a 30-minute wait, and it's crowded, so they walk around. Nice weather outside. We were open. And that's where a lot of our customers discovered us, which was nice. And then our social media grew, and it just kind of kept growing.
Yeah. How like looking at it now post COVID, like how much of your, clientele do you think are returning customers that you've had for a long time versus how many, like on a monthly or yearly basis, especially as 2023 has just ended, or new customers that are just finding you out for the first time?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're traveling and staying at the hotel and just walk over. Like how percentage wise do you think does that look like?
It's all the above, but returning customers for sure. That is huge, because Huntsville has a really good reputation of actually shopping local.
Yeah.
You live in Huntsville. A lot of people very much want to shop local.
And they prefer to shop local.
They do. And so that's why it's important for all the shops in any area that you're at to all be a little bit different, so that you can go to the stores and not find the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is nice. But returning customers, definitely most important. I mean, now we have customers that I met first year that I'm friends with.
Wow.
And have developed friendships. We have each other's cell phone numbers. We text, or they're like, hey, I just want to ask you if this outfit looks good. I'm heading to this event.
Wow.
What do you think? And that is something to be said about not just Elitaire, but the people that work there too, and our team, and that they trust us to tell them the truth, because we're always truthful. We're never going to upsell you something that doesn't look good on you, we're going to say, why don't you try this item?
Yeah.
And I think that level of trust is very important.
For sure. And like, I mean, you've like, obviously, like how quickly from when you were just by yourself did you actually have that first employee, and what did that look like?
Yeah. So Caitlin was our first employee. She's still with us. Wow. Which is so awesome. We love her. She is also now a face of Elitaire. Like when people see her, they're like, you work at Elitaire. And I think that's really fun. But she started with us. So we opened October of 2016. She started with us in December of 2017.
Wow.
And
so for the first year or so, it was just you.
Yes.
Wow.
6 days a week. It was wild. I would actually leave on Saturday nights when it was market, and I would drive to Atlanta. So 8 o'clock, we're closing. I would drive to Atlanta. This is when I was a lot younger. And I didn't have a newborn, and I had a lot more energy. But I would drive to Atlanta, wake up the next day, and I would do market like a full day.
Wow.
Just go, 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 go. I would drive back, and then I would open on Monday again at 10. And some mornings I would drive back Monday morning because I was there so late. It was like, okay, I'm going to get some sleep, and then I'm going to wake up early and drive back. Ooh. I don't know how I did it.
How you managed.
I don't know. Like looking back, I'm like, that was crazy.
Yeah, that probably wasn't a great idea.
No, it probably wasn't.
It worked. I mean, obviously you're all still around. And
I'm a firm believer in like, if you want something bad enough, you're going to do anything and everything to kind of make it happen. And that was the mindset that I had. This was a dream. My husband and I put a lot of time and our personal money to open this up. I mean, a lot of people don't know, when you want to open a business, banks don't give you a business loan if you've never had a business before.
Yeah.
So this was money we had saved up. This was money I had worked my whole professional life to open something like this.
Wow.
And so when you have everything invested, you're going to really do whatever it takes to make sure it works.
Yeah. So. And I think like what's unique and too, like you mentioning the going to Atlanta to get the shop, like that experience of going there is something that, you know, I will never understand. I will never be a part of, probably don't need to ever be a part of, or probably maybe don't want to be a part of. But I think, you know, it's changed a lot. And I think that was a unique thing that you mentioned in the first episode, since when we had you on 4 years ago, was that experience of going to Atlanta and curating the collection that you would bring back to Huntsville. How has that experience changed since COVID? And has your mindset of what you go to look for changed too? Yes.
So we still have some brands that we started with. But unfortunately, other people want those brands too sometimes. Yeah. And so when that happens, that's what Elitaire means. Elitaire means elite in French, and not elite in the fact that you can't attain it, but everything in our store is original. So you can't find it in Huntsville yet. And that's what I personally want, and a lot of our customers want. So some of the brands we've had to drop, or some of the brands when COVID happened,
or just no longer.
They're no longer there. And then some brands don't have showrooms anymore, and they are strictly road or Zoom.
Oh,
which is hard.
Yeah, and it makes the experience of you going to get it just a complete, like, almost like, not like it's unattainable, but it becomes a little bit of a hindrance because you don't really, like, is like going out of your way to get that particular thing what the customer wants, or is there something else that we could find that might be, you know, suitable for that same sort of genre?
We've looked.
Wow.
It's hard. So there's some brands that might be European or Australian. They pulled out of showrooms, and now like shipping gone up. There was one brand that we had before COVID, and they were from Australia, and now they were shipping from Australia, and it was astronomical.
You're like,
and I was like,
I can't do this.
This is not.
Yeah. By the time it gets to me, I'm like, decision. I'm actually selling it for less.
100%. And as much as we loved it, I don't think some of those brands are no longer anymore, because when you pull out of a showroom, that's why I like shopping local. I like to touch an item and feel it. I want to see the quality. I also want to make sure it fits.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to go back and forth to UPS or wherever to drop an item back off to send it back. That's such a hassle. I would rather go to a place,
have hundreds of them all in one place. You can kind of touch, feel, see the sizing, see if it fits what your customer, because like you've now figured out what your customer base for the most part want. Obviously you have new customers that come in that have never been there before. Like I guess with the holiday season too, it's busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
So you have customers that are all across the country that are coming to visiting Huntsville for family.
Oh yeah.
So you're kind of having to, you curate it for your ideal clientele, but then you also have options, you know, to kind of fit those people that are traveling that maybe you don't, it's that size that you maybe never sell much of, but when someone comes in for travel, it works really well.
Yeah. And you were asking the question about like how many customers are local, how many aren't. We have, so many that come to the hotel and they may come for work, or their husband's here for work and they're downtown shopping, or they're visiting family, whatever. And now every time they come and shop.
Wow.
Sometimes they order online. Sometimes we ship it back to their home. They're coming and they're just shopping because they're like, we don't have a store like this in DC or Pittsburgh or crazy. Wherever it is. It's kind of wild, but that was the goal. I wanted Elitaire to not be tied to just like one spot. So it's not a Southern boutique. It's not like, I wanted it to be original and different. So if it picked up and went to a different city, it would work.
Yeah.
And it does, which is nice. So a lot of people that move here from California or Colorado, they love it because they're like, these are brands we had out there that I haven't been able to find again, but now I know that they're here, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, when do you, like, obviously, like when you opened it, like that was always the intent, is that this brand of Elitaire could be something that, people from other parts of the country could come and see, and it reminds them of home. Yeah. It's something they could find where they grew up. When do you think that actually maybe made the tipping point of actually becoming a reality? Was that post-COVID, or do you think that was, in the first 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, I think, I'm like the first 3 years, and then COVID happened, which is wild. So it's like we've been open half before COVID and half after COVID. Yeah. I think, so when COVID happened, obviously we had to shut down, and about 80% of our store was online.
That's nice, yeah.
Which is pretty good. But then we realized there's a lot of it that isn't online. So the first thing we did was we got every single thing in store became on our website.
Wow.
And one thing I really remember is cards. We have lots of great cards. And we never put them online because they're cards.
Yeah, like how do you ship a card? Like, the price
You're gonna buy one card.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we put them online, and we would have people say, hey, I want this card. Can I buy the card and a gift card, and can you send it to my friend? I can't see her, but it's her birthday. Or I can't go visit her, but she's getting married and I know she loves the store, so she can come find like a fun outfit. Or my friend needs a pick-me-up or whatever. And I was like, cards, encouraging cards, birthday cards, anything. And so I remember us talking about cards, and people would just send other people cards in COVID. And it was like,
so you're just like mailing a card with a gift card during COVID.
Yeah.
Like, do you want us to write anything in it for you?
Yes,
sure.
We would write. They would tell us what to write.
That's amazing.
We would write that it was from them.
Wow.
They'd put something in it, or they would say, hey, will you ship this piece of jewelry with it too? Yeah. And we would do it. And we had so many people that were like, that brightened our day. And it was great because it was also gift card sales.
Wow.
And so when we opened back up, that person could come and shop, or it was jewelry, or it was whatever, because people still were shopping. And women always want to feel good.
Yeah.
So even if it's something super small. And so I remember getting on Instagram and saying, if you want us to send a card to someone, let us know. And that was huge.
Yeah.
It was
like,
wild.
I'll throw a gift card in there with it too, or whatever it is. That's great. Like, and I talk to a lot of small, this is what I do. I talk to a lot of small businesses. And so it's been interesting to talk to people post-COVID too. That, at a certain point post-COVID, they saw their business become better than what it was prior to COVID. When did you kind of see that for you too? Like, when did you see Elitaire becoming, okay, like what we were doing and what we had grown for the first 3 years, it was great. And then COVID had the dip. When did you see that dip become a high, like that high point after that? Be like, wow, like I didn't know when we were going to be better than we were prior, but now we are.
Yeah, that's a really great question, because so obviously everyone shut down. It was like March when the announcement was made. I remember it was like right around St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And because I remember,
I think that was like the last parade they did in Huntsville. Yes.
Yeah, it was wild. And that was the last weekend we were open. And I remember someone telling me that, and I was like, we're not
going to close down. Like,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember going at UAH doing classes and being like, I don't know if we're all going to come next week. And I was like, what do you mean? Like we're paying a lot of money to be here. Like, I will probably not, like, I'm just not going to come.
Well, I was like, I own this place. I will open it
I promise,
if I want to, type of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
In my mind, this had never happened before.
Yeah.
So I couldn't visually see the future, obviously, and what that looked like. And so we shut down. Obviously, that was hard, but it was me and Caitlin. And then at the time, I think we had Bethany who worked weekends with us.
Okay.
And so Caitlin and I would come in and we would film. So what COVID did, it was like a blessing and a curse. It gave us so much time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To when we're open, we are obviously with customers, we're doing all this other stuff, and we didn't have time to create content. So we would come in and we would film videos. That's when our reels, this was before reels. So we start filming these videos.
You can almost be more creative at that point too, because you have the time to do it.
Exactly. That's what I mean. And so we were doing these videos, which now Instagram has reels. And there were no reels. And so Caitlin, who also does YouTube, she was like, we need to get this on video because photos, like now people can't come and touch it. So they're going to need to see how it flows and moves. So we started doing everything on video.
Wow.
So it's funny because you look back at it and you're like, we have evolved our videos so much.
At the time you were doing it out of like necessity. Now you're doing it because you actually really enjoy it and you figured out what works and what doesn't work.
Well, and it's fun to like play around and do new things and stuff. And so they've just gotten better over the years. And I'm not I don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
That's not who I am. And so that was really hard for me. I could always get on and film something like on stories and talk to customers, but getting on video, I'm like, I'm not a model.
Yeah, and you're like not talking to the camera. You're just kind of like acting and moving. Yeah. And then there's some music playing behind you, but you don't hear the music. So you're just kind of like, what do I do with my hands?
It's weird. And you're always like, you're almost like, is this like vain? I don't want to come off because I love this outfit. I want you to see how it moves and feels. So that was a hard transition for me personally to like become like, get into the videos. Caitlin is a natural at it and can just do it all day. But so we started doing that. Then we put everything online. Then we just had time to create and get creative. And that is really when our business changed.
Yeah.
And in April, we were shut down the whole month of April. We had sales every single day on our website. And it was such a huge blessing. I just remember praying and being like, God, thank you. Like, I know we're working hard and we're trying to get through this, but that's really when I was just like, thank you for these customers. These people are so great. We would have people contact us and say, can you bring some stuff to our house so we can try it on?
Yeah, because I think you were doing like local, like if you lived within
started local delivery.
I do remember that.
So Caitlin and I would go and film. Then we would leave, and then I would go and deliver the second half of the day.
Wow.
And it was so nice. And I remember one customer, I took clothes to them. They tried them on, and they bought what
worked. Like bring like a little square thing for your phone, and then just, hey, swipe, and you're good to go.
And I remember them saying, I don't want you to close. So we want to shop. We know we're going to go do these other things when we can. Yeah. Some people were like, well, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to go to the beach. I can social distance at the beach. Yeah. I can be outside. And so they were still shopping.
Wow.
So, which was nice. And we honestly, we couldn't believe it. And so that's when we realized like our customers are amazing. What can we do better for them? So that customer service also just went up. Yeah. And that's what we always wanted to be.
And I think, DHI and downtown Huntsville and all of that, like really Huntsville in general during that time. I mean, I think during that time I did like a short, I don't know if it was 30-day vlog. It was like it was, and I look back at it and I laugh at it now, but I did it in just to showcase how easy it was to still shop local.
Yes.
And that was like me going to places and getting something delivered or picking up something online. Like I would go to Offbeat and I would order coffee and they would like Kyle and Anna would come out to my car and give it to me. And like, that was and like, I would do the same thing downtown and I would just be like, it's not, though the experience is not maybe the same as what you were expecting.
Right.
The quality and the service and, you get to, honestly, at that point, I feel like a lot of people got to meet the actual owners.
Yeah.
Because at that, like you had to kind of consolidate your staff. Mm-hmm. So then you're basically, well, we still want to be open. So I'm running the show.
Right.
And so it was a very unique thing, but it was one of those things that it's great now to see majority of the businesses made it through.
Yeah. Oh, that was what was so impressive. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. And we didn't want anyone in our street to close or anyone downtown. I mean, everyone had worked so hard to get downtown to what it was. And all these things, there were places that had opened 2 weeks before.
Yeah. I mean, I think Fat Sammy's opened the day of.
I think so.
Like, I think they were like delivering like flyers out to local businesses in that, and like, hey, we're opening tomorrow. And they opened and it was like, they had to close.
It was wild. And so I remember my husband and I like saying, okay, these nights of the week, we are going to make sure that we get something from a local business, like a local restaurant, to keep supporting like all of our favorite
and we'll
places.
Get some gift cards for later on. We'll get some merch. We'll get whatever it is. We'll like make a post about it so people then know that they're still open.
We were sharing other people like just on our page and just like, I remember sharing everyone on our street and sharing everyone on Jefferson Street and like just everybody just trying to share on our stories to just remind people like Amazon, Target, they're not going anywhere.
No, they'll be around. They'll be fine.
You want Huntsville to look the same when all of this is over, you've got to shop local.
And I think it's a testament to now, like the experience that people now can experience when they come, especially people that are like, I mean, I talk to a ton of people that are, hey, I've only been here 2 years. I just moved here 4 years ago. I just moved here, last year.
Right.
And it's like their experience of downtown is amazing.
Yeah.
But that would not have been the case if it wasn't for the people that had been here forever to then say, hey, during that time, we're going to support you no matter what. Like we are here for you.
Yes.
We love what you do. We love this. We love the creation of which downtown Huntsville is. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing now in downtown Huntsville would not be the case if it wasn't for that.
Yep.
And it's amazing to see. And like it is one of my, it might be my favorite thing to do is just walk around downtown Huntsville. Like
it's so pretty.
Like I'm like, oh, I'll leave work and I'll just park on Green Street and I'll just go on a walk.
Yep.
And I'll walk through like downtown. I'll walk through the park. I'll walk through the neighborhoods. I'll do a loop. Mm-hmm. I'll grab a coffee at Honest. I'll walk some more.
Yeah.
It's the experience and just like that. It is the most like, as Huntsville's growing so much, it's hard still to not go downtown and recognize someone you know. Mm-hmm. And that's like, big. It's very unique. Very unique.
And we even have customers that like grew up here. They don't live here anymore, but then they come back to see family and they're like, Huntsville downtown is amazing. And now that all the construction's done, there's new sidewalks, there's new street lights, there's new everything. It's just so quaint and cute.
Yeah. And the variety. I mean, like it used to be, like there was like one or two options to do food. Like it was pizza or like burger. And it's like, okay, like, well, like, what do you want today? Pizza or burgers? And now it's like you have pizzas, you have burgers, you have oshi poki, you have sushi, you have, melt, you have a Mexican restaurants, you have Tex-Mex to like more fine dining of like La Esquina, you have everything, you have the standard, you have these hotel restaurants, you have fine, like the variety is just amazing. It's awesome. And it's one of my favorite things to do is when I have friends of mine that come back or like my sister-in-law or brother-in-law, like they come back and they're like, hey, where should we go? We're having friends come. And I'm like, oh, here you go. Like, here's a variety of these. Like at this point, you can go to all these restaurants. At this price point, you can go to these restaurants. I recommend going here before dinner. Yeah. Like, it's just an amazing thing.
Yes. When we have people that come in from out of town that are staying at the hotel, they come and shop. They ask us, where can we eat for lunch? Yeah. What can we do for dinner, brunch? And I'll write down, okay, if you want this, here's where you go. And it's like a bunch of things. If you want this, here's where you go. And then you
start drawing a map. You're like, wait, what am I doing?
I have done this. And they will come back and say, that was the best experience. Yeah. Or like, we love Domain South.
Oh, love Domain.
All the girls at Elitaire love Domain. Yeah. And we are like, if it's a group of girls that are in our store and they're like, where do we go?
Domain South.
Domain. Yeah. That's a cute place to go. Yeah. It's great. Yeah,
charcuterie and wine.
Absolutely.
It's like
right up every girl's alley.
I mean, like you just checked all the boxes at once.
I'm a fan of Mexican. I love La Esquina. Yeah. And so I'm like, if you want just a different Mexican experience for Mexican food, go here. Yeah. And just, I mean, we send people everywhere. And that's probably our number one question that we get asked when people are traveling.
And I feel like, the hotel has really supported a lot of these local businesses because now that you have everything online, they come, they visit, they see the store, they love the experience, they love meeting you.
They're like, can I shop online?
Like, absolutely.
Everything's online.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know at the time when we first had you on, there was talks about Elitaire Boutique.
Yes.
And I think, within like probably a year after we did it, you were talking to me about it. Now it's a thing. What does that look like now for the business, and how has that changed what the experience that people get to enjoy of Elitaire?
Yeah, so myself and Caitlin, we had this idea of a baby store We'd kind of written out this business plan of what we wanted it to look like. And this was a year or two before COVID. So this had to have been 2018.
Yeah.
And so we're writing down this business plan. I hadn't really said anything to my husband, but we just kept kind of dreaming about it and writing it down. And before COVID, we were actually looking to open another space. So like a small space for it.
Okay.
Like a curated baby boutique. Because at the time there wasn't a baby store downtown. And so then COVID happened. And I was like, well, there goes that idea. Like, it's not going to happen.
We'll just put it on the shelf and we'll just maybe
we'll see if we get
might
through
revisit.
This.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we have the mezzanine.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were using our second floor. It had shoes and some other stuff, like some sell items, but it was kind of in a more open space, and we'd have events. So we would do pop-up yoga. We would do candle making classes. We would have flower shops, like, because I don't think In Bloom was open just yet. So they would pop up for different occasions. So like Mother's Day or Valentine's Day, they would do little pop-ups in our store, things like that.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't have events. So I had 500 square feet of space that was empty.
Wow.
And we were paying rent for it.
Yeah.
And so when I realized, okay, I can't use this space. I don't know if I'll ever be able to host events there, how long this is going to go to where people even want to go to an event with a bunch of people. And when I told my husband, I was like, what if we did the baby store upstairs?
Yeah.
And had it like a micro baby boutique.
Yeah, you don't have to pay rent for another space. You have this opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like at the time, I mean, probably at the time it might've been cheaper to get another, like cheaper than it is now.
Yeah.
Now there's no way.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. You're like, I will never move.
For a reason.
I will never move.
I will never move. And he was like, do it.
Yeah.
And he was like, no rent, no extra
Was
staff.
this like 2021?
So 2020, we opened back up. And so we start kind of like really digging in. And I had kind of like mentioned this idea to him. Then everything opened back up. And then everybody, the thing about babies is there's always new babies being born.
It like COVID didn't put a pause on that.
No.
If anything, it probably increased that.
Weddings still happened. Even if they were elopements, they still happened. Babies were still being born. That didn't stop. If anything, I think there was like a baby boom
probably was.
9 months later after COVID. And so, you know, there's like a few things, like people are always going to go get their hair done.
Yeah.
Or women are, at least. Yeah. And
I just grew my hair out. I was just like, I just won't cut it.
Just those little things. And so we started looking around and finding these brands again that weren't here locally, and opened up Elitaire Boutique October 2021.
Okay. And then what was the response then? And then what's the response now in 2024?
So in 2021, we had a huge response.
Really?
And a lot of our customers, we've seen them from graduating college to not really shopping with us. Their moms may have shopped with us. And then they're in professional world, so now they're shopping more with us. And then they get engaged, so they become an Elotera bride. Then they get pregnant. Yeah. And now they can
still shop at all in one place.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's another, just that synergy downtown to where you can come, because it takes a lot. I have a 4-month-old. It takes a lot to get in the car, put him in the car, get the stroller out, and walk downtown. So when you're downtown, or when I'm downtown, or when I'm anywhere shopping, I want to kind of hit all the spots and then go back home. Yeah. I don't want to make 20 stops because it's not conducive. It's of my time or his time or anything like that. And so they can come in and just shop for themselves. They can come in, they can shop for their babies. Their moms can come in and shop for their babies. So it's expanded our customer base to people that don't have kids, need to shop for babies too. Nieces, nephews, friends, to grandparents. Wow. And even men that are like, I have a granddaughter now. Yeah. I'm coming and I'm going to get her things from here.
It's like, I don't know what is good or not, but I feel like there's a place now that you can kind of be that, hey, like this is like, we see a lot of people liking this, like this works well, like all that good stuff. Wow. And so I know as we were recording this, first of 2024, you got a couple big things happened in the business. Yeah. You were voted best boutique in Huntsville. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. So awesome.
What was that like? What was that experience, at least, you know, being nominated to then, you know, finding out.
I know. We didn't even know nominations were happening. I think too, when, especially the fall and holiday season, I think nominations happened in the fall. I had just had a baby.
Yeah.
And fall is busy and holiday season's busy.
It just blew right past you.
Totally didn't see it, missed it. If we were tagged in anything. And then we saw the post about nominations, and I'm getting on and voting like for all of my best favorite things, you know, for all the different categories. And a friend of mine was like, "You're on Best Boutique."
You're like, wait a second.
And I was like, I didn't even know we were nominated for Best Boutique. So it was really fun to see and just see all the other local businesses that were nominated too, which is great.
And I would think it was super cool too for me to see is like these businesses that have just been open for a year that already won.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, like
it's
that's
really cool.
It's a testament to like, you know, if you have this amazing idea, the Huntsville community is pretty willing just to say, hey, we'll invest in what you're doing and we will support you.
Yeah.
And now you're voted the best of that.
Yes.
Which is amazing to see.
It's really cool.
At the start of 2024, you also rebranded. Kind of restyled what the logo looked like, what the brand looks like. Talk a little bit about sort of how that came about, and sort of where the future looks like for Elitaire as 2024 has just begun.
Yeah. So when I opened Elitaire, I wanted it to stand out against any other boutique. That was kind of the goal. And over the years, thankfully, we have a lot more shopping options in Huntsville, which is good. But just to rebrand, to look a little bit different and just to be more original. And I wanted to elevate it even more. We're listening to our customers and what they're wanting, and they're wanting that elegance. They're wanting the elevation. They want something different. And now, since COVID, I think that's changed how people shop. They'll shop for experiences. They're going on a really great trip that they've always wanted to go on. I'm going to look good for it too. I want something unique and totally different. So not getting too far into trends, but being more of a trendsetter in that area. So just to elevate, for lack of a better word, to use our new slogan, elegant, elevated, Elitaire, is just, that's what we want you to think when you come and shop. I need something elevated. I need to elevate my work wardrobe. I'm going to go to Elitaire. I need something elegant for this wedding or a award ceremony that I have to go to, or a business thing I have to go to that's a little bit dressy. I want something great. I'm shopping for a trip to Europe. Which we've seen so many people do. They're like, you know what? Now it's now or never. I'm not wasting time on this anymore. I'm going to go if I want to go. And I'm going to go with my best friend, or my husband and I are going. It's a big 10-year anniversary trip, something like that. They're wanting something different. And so just to revamp the store. So we're going to have some new brands that we're bringing in this year, to not tell too much, for both boutique and petite. New elevated content. So just being a little bit more strategic with what we and how we post on our social media. Might have to edit this out until I get my right words, because I don't want to tell too much. But we want to give a different Elitaire experience, and that's what we're calling it, the Elitaire experience. So you come in, better customer service, better options, better quality, just stepping it up a little bit more.
For sure. And I think that is, I mean, like, obviously you've been able to see your clientele, the Huntsville community, support you in different ways over the years. And so now you're kind of answering those questions, answering the need. There's one question that I recently saw on the podcast. I think it's a unique question. I've never actually asked it before. But looking through kind of this journey you've had, being your own boss, you know, those long days, those long weeks, whatever it might be. If you were to look back, what do you think, is there an area at which you wish you would have had time to spend doing something else, or like that you missed an opportunity because of work? Or do you think that, you know, you were able to really balance that work life pretty well over this journey with Elitaire?
Yeah, I feel like I don't like to look in the past for like regrets or, you know, I did something wrong. It was something my husband and I definitely discussed. So opening a business is great when you're married if you don't have kids because you learn a lot about each other. And then when you have a child, your communication is so much better because you've been able to communicate with kind of another child in a sense.
For sure.
And so, because it was his investment too, he is just as much of an owner of the store as I am and as invested as I am. But I think the one thing which I wouldn't have known is I ended up having a lot of fertility issues. And so we always knew we didn't want to have kids right away when we got married, but we didn't know that it would take as long as it did.
Yeah.
And a lot of people struggle with that. And so it was a 2-year journey before I got pregnant. And so it was about 3 years before we ever ended up having a baby.
Wow.
And so when 2020 happened was actually the year we were going to start trying, but then we didn't know what it looked like. So we waited and then we waited and then we started and it was like, oh, you can't. And we kept getting those answers. So I think if anything, I wish we would have started that journey a little bit sooner. But again, everything happens for a reason.
For sure.
And Liam, it might not be Liam.
Yeah.
And he is wonderful. So I think that's really the only thing that I do wish we would have started sooner, but we would have never known.
Yeah.
You don't know those things.
For sure. And I think, like you said, everything happens the timing is so important with anything you do.
And God was in control of that situation 100%. And I had to just give that over. Yeah. And now here we are.
Yeah, and now you have Liam, and it's amazing.
Yes, exactly.
So if anyone's listening and they want to connect with Elitaire, we've talked a lot about where you're at, but where are the specifics of like website and location and all of that they can find you and maybe shop, get a gift card, send a gift card, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we are downtown. We are on Clinton Avenue in the Clinton Avenue parking garage. So you can park. There's covered parking, and you can come and shop everywhere downtown for very, very cheap. I think people don't realize how
the parking
inexpensive.
Is so cheap.
It's like 25 cents every 30 minutes or something like that. And it doesn't exceed $4. I think it's like crazy.
Yeah.
And because in Atlanta, it's like flat $35 or maybe you're spending $16 for 3 hours or whatever. You can find us in store. You can find us online, www.elitareboutique.com. We also have our petite section on our website. You can shop via Instagram. You can shop via Facebook. You can email us. I mean,
everywhere.
Endless. You can message us on Instagram. Calling us is better, but we will message back. That's hard. But yeah, I mean, any way you want to reach out is perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. And we'll have all their information in the episode notes. So if you're listening, you can find out more information there. If you're watching it on YouTube, we'll have it in the description of the video, all of their social links and website links and everything like that. I appreciate you taking the last 42 minutes. That was a lot. It went by like crazy fast. But thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me again. It's cool to have you back on after 4 years. We'll have to have you on in 4 years from now, and maybe you have 2 or 3 locations. Who knows?
Oh goodness, I don't know.
But thank
One
you.
is enough.
Yes, but thank you again for being here, and I'll be sure to. We'll connect. Anyone that's listening or watching to Elitaire, and I look forward to the success that you'll have in Huntsville for years to come. So
you too, because this has grown so much, and from doing it in our store to now in this location, so cool at Lincoln Mill. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But thank you again for being here.
Thank you.